Greetings, welcome, and thank you for clicking. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing Company, encouraging your journey with Reiki, card reading, and coaching for life's changes, challenges, and transitions. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask the Stones, offering spiritual guidance and encouragement for life's challenging questions. Welcome to this episode of Ask the Stones. Thank you for tuning in. As always, it is an honor to have you join me for this week's episode. Our question comes from Esther. My brother is very ill, in the custody of his wife, and under the care of a caretaker. We don't know who the caretaker is or where he is right now. I'm concerned with his safety, his health recovery, and his mental health. He is currently disabled, in a vulnerable state, and separated from his children. I don't know how to save him, how to help him out of the situation. And this is draining for my mother and me. We are in so much grief and helplessness with no legal rights. I wish I could have some miracle cure and magic to guide us to recover my brother from this heartless situation. Oh, Esther, I'm so very sorry, Esther, for your situation. I can hear the grief in your question. I can hear the grief in your situation. And my heart goes out to you during this very challenging time. So I am sorry, Esther, for this real challenge. I also want to say that I'm sorry for the challenge that you've had legally. It sounds like there have been some legal challenges. You have no legal rights. And I really can understand your feelings of true helplessness. Here is someone who you love very much, someone close to you, someone as close as your sibling. And for many of us, sibling relationships can be some of the closest relationships in our lives. And so I understand that you love your brother very much and that this is a true challenge for you, because here is someone you love so much, but yet you truly are helpless. And Esther, you are helpless in all ways. You're even helpless in being able to connect with him, to even know his physical location. You don't even know where he is right now in the world. And so that is a true state of unknowing all the way around. And so, Esther, I can completely understand your sadness. I can completely understand your grief. And I can completely understand your true wish to change the situation and to, as you say, save your brother. So my heart goes out to you, Esther. My heart goes out to your mother, too. It must be very challenging for your mother with a child who she, of course, must love very much and also just feel so disconnected. I'm getting a real sense of disconnection for you and your mother. Esther, with regards to your brother, you must feel so disconnected from him. And from being able to help him. So I send my blessings and best wishes to you. You know, you are wondering what kind of miracle there is that can help him, what kind of miracle cure there might be, or what kind of magic there is that is available. And I'll be completely honest with you. I know of no magic that can save your brother. I know of no magic that can bring him back from whatever vulnerable state he is in. I know of no magic that can give you legal rights, and I know of no magic that can reconnect you in a physical sense. And so, as far as a magical cure, I do not have it. However, sometimes, Esther, the miracle is in acceptance. Sometimes the miracle is in letting go. Sometimes the miracle is in surrender. Sometimes the miracle is internal and not external. And so what I am saying, Esther, is that in this very challenging situation in which you feel helpless, sometimes the only thing we can do is surrender to that helplessness, to accept that helplessness, to understand that truly things are beyond our power, that truly there is nothing that we can do in the situation. Sometimes, Esther, that is the miracle, because it is not easy to accept. It is not easy to surrender. It is not easy to let go. These are the greatest challenges of our lives, and these are the greatest lessons on our journey, is acceptance and surrender and letting go. We all have a lot of work to do in those ways. We all have our own ways in which we are challenged to let go and to surrender and to accept. And Esther, this is really one of the greatest challenges of all in acceptance, letting go, and surrender that you are facing. Esther, it doesn't get much more challenging than this. So you are right to feel your grief. You are right to feel your sadness. You are right in feeling your anger, your sadness, your helplessness. You are right to feel all of those feelings. All of those feelings are feelings that anyone and everyone in your situation would feel. You are right to have all of your feelings, your anger towards his wife, your anger towards the caretaker, your anger towards his situation and your situation. Even, Esther, your anger towards your inability to fix the situation. Your anger towards the legal system in which you have no legal rights. You are valid in all of those feelings and all of that anger and grief and helplessness. And so I want to take a moment and honor your feelings, because they really are very valid and warranted in this situation, Esther. And so when I say that sometimes the miracle happens inside of us, it is not meant to reduce your feelings. It is not meant to brush them off. It is not meant to diminish the magnitude of this challenge. Anyone who has ever been in a situation like this, and let's be real, Esther, your situation is kind of unique. This is not an everyday situation that people face. But it is a very common situation that we face in terms of things like illness and a lack of control and uncertainty and unknowing. These are all elements of your situation, and those are all so common to the human experience. And so it is not easy. This is not an easy situation that you face. As a matter of fact, Esther, if you are being challenged to grow in your level of acceptance and surrender and letting go, holy cow, the universe has tossed you a mighty big piece of challenge with acceptance, letting go, and surrender on your journey. This is quite an uphill walk on your journey, Esther. And so I want to really encourage you to acknowledge and recognize that. I want to encourage you to honor this great challenge of a situation. I want to encourage you to honor all of your feelings, the whole range of your feelings about this particular situation. And I want you to really give honor in terms of acknowledgement to all of those feelings. Feel all of those feelings, Esther, and I want to encourage you not to judge any of them. I want to encourage you to have compassion towards your feelings. I want to encourage you to have understanding of yourself in these challenges and to love yourself during this great challenge. I also want to encourage you to encourage your mother to love, accept, and honor herself during this process. This is not easy for her either. I cannot imagine. I think that there is maybe no greater sadness than a parent losing a child. Now, I am not a parent. I do not have children, but I imagine that losing a child must be one of the, if not the greatest sadnesses of life. And so while your brother is still alive, it's important to acknowledge that he is gone in some way, shape, and form. Physically, he is gone. Physically, he is disconnected. Physically, he is in a vulnerable state, disabled. And so, because of all of that, your mother has, in many senses, lost a child. And so it's important to acknowledge that loss, and it is important to recognize the grief that your mother is going through as well. Esther, I want to encourage you to send extra love to your mother at this time. And I want to encourage you to make sure that she is not losing two children through this experience, to ensure that your mother is not losing you in this experience. As you deal with your own grief and heartache and sadness, I want to encourage you to allow it to bring you closer to your mother and to strengthen your relationship with her. Because a great tragedy would be if your mother, who has already in some sense lost her son, then loses in some sense her daughter. Now, Esther, I'm not saying that in your current challenge you are neglecting your mother. I'm not saying that you're not being a good daughter. I'm not saying that you're not paying attention to her and loving her. I don't know what the state of your relationship with your mother is, but what I do know is that she is also grieving. And I do know that she also loves you as one of her blessed children. And so I want to encourage you to just make sure, Esther, that the grief that you are feeling over the loss of your brother does not somehow impair or hinder or inhibit your love for your mother. She needs you now more than ever. She needs your love now more than ever. And so I want to encourage you to make sure that your relationship with your mother is not suffering during this great challenge that you are both facing. And so I send blessings to your mother, and I send blessings to your relationship with your mother. Now, Esther, I would like to say a little bit more about this idea of surrendering and letting go. And Esther, I'm not saying give up. I'm not saying, well, your brother's lost, forget it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying to stop fighting the legal battle. I am, however, saying to surrender to the situation, to accept what is, and to understand that sometimes when we are faced with these grave life challenges, the outcome truly is beyond our control. And truly, we do not have a magical cure. We do not have a miracle that can fix the situation. Sometimes it's important and necessary for us to understand that sometimes all we can do is accept and surrender. And sometimes, Esther, that is the true miracle. Because surrendering and letting go is a true challenge. Whether we are challenged to let go of a relationship, a job, a home, an identity, letting go is always hard. Letting go is always a challenge. And in letting go, we always have a push and a pull, a resistance and a level of acceptance. This is always a part of the letting go process. And so, Esther, if you are feeling resistance right now to my encouragement towards letting go, that is part of the process. If you are resistant to my encouragement, I am not surprised. As a matter of fact, Esther, I would be very surprised if you were like, yes, Christian, I get it, and I let go. That would be a true surprise, Esther. I imagine, Esther, that you are probably feeling rather resistant right now. I expect that. That is part of this process. There is always, always, always resistance in letting go. And I will say for everyone listening that any time that we are able to just let something go without resistance, we were always already working on the letting go on a subconscious, unconscious, even energetic level, where there was resistance before the letting go that maybe we didn't even realize we were working through, unconsciously, subconsciously, energetically, on whatever level. Because of course there are multiple levels, multiple layers, including in the letting go process. And so letting go happens on numerous levels. It's a process that is a process on numerous levels. And so even when we are able to easily let go, it only seems that way because we've already done a lot of processing on other levels that might not have been completely conscious. And so, Esther, in this experience, if you are feeling resistance to my encouragement, that is completely normal. That is completely expected. So yes, I expect you to feel resistance towards my encouragement because resistance is always a part of letting go. And so, Esther, because letting go and surrendering and acceptance are such a challenge for all of us as human beings, because they are such a challenge, oftentimes the act of letting go and surrendering and accepting is itself a miracle. And so when we think of miracles, we often think of them happening externally, as though here is something that is going to come in from outside and fix the situation. Here is Christian coming to fix the situation. Well, Christian ain't fixing any situations, I know that. But we look to something external to be able to solve the problem. And sometimes the true miracle is not external. Sometimes the true miracle happens within us. Sometimes the true miracle is an inside job. And so, Esther, I really want to encourage you during this challenging time to, yes, continue with the legal battle. Yes, continue sending love and healing to your brother. Yes, continue to hope and pray. And at the same time, Esther, know that at some point the outcome is out of your control. Human beings like to control. Let me be honest, I am no different. I am a big H human being. I like to control too. And so we are all always looking for control, ways that we can control situations, ways that we can change outcomes, ways that we can have things turn out the way that we want them to. This is so human. And sometimes things are completely, utterly out of our control. And Esther, when you think about situations that are out of our control, this is a doozy. Your experience, your situation is very much one of a lack of control. And so I really want to encourage you to think about and contemplate that and recognize that when there is nothing we can do, it is not our fault. Esther, it is not your fault that your brother is ill. It is not your fault that your brother is in his wife's custody. It is not your fault that he is under the care of a caretaker. It is not your fault that you don't know who that caretaker is or where your brother is. It is not your fault that he is separated from his children. It is not your fault that you don't have legal rights. None of this is your fault at all, Esther. And so I really want to encourage you to be understanding and loving toward yourself for your sheer lack of control in this situation and the fact that none of it is your fault. Please, please be understanding of yourself for that. There is nothing that you have done wrong, and there is nothing that you are responsible for in this situation. And so I truly want to encourage you to be gentle and understanding of yourself during this challenge and to take blame and guilt off of yourself. Esther, you may be feeling guilty that you have no legal rights. You may be feeling guilty that your brother is ill. You may be feeling guilty that you are not the one caring for him. I want to encourage you to work to release that guilt. And I say work because releasing guilt is true work. Guilt is a human emotion. I've been told by my guides that guilt does not exist on the spiritual plane. It exists on the human plane. It is a uniquely human emotion. And so, Esther, I want to encourage you to work, because it truly is work to release guilt. Release any feelings of guilt that you feel over your brother's situation and over your powerlessness. None of this is your fault, and therefore none of the blame is yours, and none of the guilt should be either. Esther, I'm going to send some Reiki to you and to your brother and to your relationship with your brother. I'm going to send Reiki to your relationship with your mother. And I'm going to send Reiki, Esther, to you for the letting go process. Because this is the kind of challenge that is a true challenge in the sense of no matter what the outcome, no matter what happens, whether you have your brother returned to you or you have access to him or whatever happens, this is the kind of life challenge that sticks with us. This is the kind of grief that can last and linger, even if your brother is returned to you, even if you are able to care for him, even if your brother is returned to his children. We can still have long-term sadness and grief over that experience. And so even if there is a happy outcome to this situation, I want to encourage you to recognize that the feelings of grief and sadness over this situation can outlast a situation even when there's a happy resolution. So what I'm saying is, Esther, if your brother is returned to you and you are able to care for him, don't be surprised if you still have feelings of sadness and grief, because that is to be expected with this kind of situation. And so, Esther, I'm going to send Reiki to that process for you, and of course to the process of letting go, to the process of surrendering. And you may be resistant to that right now, and that's okay. Like I said, that's normal, that's natural, and that's okay. And the process of letting go, like I also mentioned, happens on multiple levels. And so subconsciously, unconsciously, energetically, you may be feeling some feelings of acceptance. And you may be feeling some feelings of a desire to shift into a different state with regards to this situation. And so I'm going to send Reiki to you for that process. Please join me in taking 3 deep cleansing breaths. And for all those listening, I will be sending Reiki to all of us for our letting go. We all have things that we are challenged to let go of. This is just a part of being human. And I want to encourage us not to feel guilt or shame or anger or judgment towards ourselves for our letting go challenges. Letting go happens as it needs to. Letting go unfolds in the way that it needs to. And so I want to encourage all of us to know that we really can't rush the letting go process. Try as we might, how frequently do we let something go and say, oh, I've let that go, I'm done. And then, maybe a little bit later, even years later, something comes up, something triggers us, and we say, oh, I thought I was over that. Oh, I thought I let that go. Happens to me for sure. But because letting go is a process, it's not the kind of thing where we just open up our hands and it all falls out. Oftentimes, because it happens in layers, there are pieces left over for us to let go of that we didn't even realize we were still holding on to. And so when, even years later, we find those pieces that we're still holding on to, let us not judge ourselves. Let us not be angry towards ourselves. Let us only be compassionate and loving and understanding of the true process of letting go, and understanding that we are humans and that letting go is a multi-layered process, and it is okay if we find down the road that there are still pieces we were holding on to but did not know. That itself is part of the process. So I invite you to please join me in taking 3 deep cleansing breaths. And of course, everyone, as always, if you don't want the Reiki to go to you, don't worry, it will not. Thank you, Esther, and everyone for the true honor of sending you Reiki. Esther, as I began to send Reiki, I saw an image of chains. And I have the impression that you really feel enchained by this experience, that you feel that you are in chains. And I want to encourage you, so often when we feel that we are in chains, when we feel enchained by a situation or an experience, an emotion or feeling or anything, oftentimes those chains are self-imposed. Oftentimes those chains are chains that we have placed on ourselves. Oftentimes those chains are more a state of mind than they are a reality. You know, the idea of chains makes us think that, oh, we are stuck. I have these chains around me. I cannot move. I'm stuck in these chains. But the truth is that stuck is a state of mind. And that we always have the ability to move more than we think we can. And we always have the ability to move more than we think we do, even when we feel like we are in chains. And so, Esther, I want to encourage you to consider your chains in a way that is self-imposed. So, for instance, the guilt. You know, guilt is self-imposed. No one can make you feel guilty. Now, if you have a mother like I do, you know that moms can be pretty good at quote-unquote the guilt trip. But ultimately, guilt is a choice that we make. And so these chains of guilt are a choice that we make to wear. And I want to encourage you to work. Again, it is work. Work to cast off those chains of guilt. And work to cast off those chains of self-imposed anger and beating yourself up about this situation over which you have no blame. No blame, Esther. While sending Reiki, I also received the image of rain. Wow, what a true image of letting go. When it is time, the cloud lets go. The cloud releases all of that rain. And I don't know about clouds, but certainly I'm sure that clouds do so without judgment. I'm sure that clouds are not sitting up there in the sky saying, oh, I can't hold on to this. I can't, what am I doing? No, and I can't, no, what, no, should I let go? I don't know. No, I can't let go. I can't let go. I'm a bad cloud. If I let go, I need to hold on to all of this rain, but I can't hold on to it. I doubt that the cloud has that kind of dialogue inside itself. My guess is that when it's time to let go, when the cloud is full, it just lets go. It just opens up. It accepts what is. And here comes that beautiful miracle of water, the number one thing we need to survive, well, that and air, falling from the sky. Now that is a true miracle. And so the act of letting go for the cloud is indeed a miracle for us all. You know, Thich Nhat Hanh had this beautiful saying that I read somewhere, I forget where, and I'm not going to remember the exact quote, so I want to apologize, but of course it came to me while sending Reiki with the image of the rain. He said that when the cloud is being transformed into rain, it does not panic like us. And so when the cloud is letting go, when it is opening up to what is, it is not angry, it is not upset, it is not judgmental, it does not blame itself. It does not beat itself up. Oh, you couldn't hold on to that rain. What was wrong with you? You needed to hold on to the rain. No. It needed to let it go for the sake of the whole world. What a magical lesson. That is true magic, and that is a true miracle. And that power is within all of us. That magical miracle power of letting go is within all of us. And so, Esther, I send you blessings and best wishes for that letting go. I'm going to pull a couple of cards for you, and we'll see what comes up. Specifically, I am feeling very called to draw for you an Archangel card. And let's see what the Archangels have to say, Esther. Oh, okay. 2 have popped out. Very clearly, as they usually do. Thank you very much, cards. Here we are. We have Archangel Ariel, who says, be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. Courage is the message here for you. Have courage during this time. And what I'm really getting right now, Esther, is an encouragement to have courage with regards to your feelings and your own internal state with this situation. So to have courage for your own inner state. And Archangel Uriel says, you know what to do. Trust your inner knowledge and act upon it without delay. Now, I don't know exactly what that means for you, Esther, but there is the message for you. Trust that inner knowing and act upon it without delay. You know, the cloud just knows when it is time to let go. The cloud knows when it is time to act. And the cloud just opens up and releases. It knows it is time, and when the time comes, it knows what it has to do. And I will also draw a Celtic Dragon Tarot card for you, Esther. And let's see what comes up from the tarot. Ah, wow. Powerful. It is the wheel. And, you know, the wheel has messages for us of change and turning and growth, and just an acknowledgement that things go up, things go down, and all is in its right order. So the world really has messages for us about divine order and trusting in that divine order and trusting in the turning of the wheel and knowing that it is all part of the process. It is all part of the journey. And so, Esther, trust in the wheel and trust in the turning of the wheel and trust in your own journey, trust in your own experience, and the encouragement to do so without judgment of yourself, without judgment of your journey, without judgment of the turning of your own wheel and the great wheel in which we are all a part. I send blessings and best wishes to all of us for our own journeys and for the turning of the wheel, for our own letting go, and for our own cloud-like experience. Thank you, and best wishes for your journey. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ask the Stones. If you have a question for Ask the Stones, please send me an email at christian@standingstoneshealing.com or connect with me on Facebook at Standing Stones Healing. Thank you, and best wishes for your journey.